The words hit me like a slap across the face. Then maybe you should leave, Gerald. You're killing the vibe. This isn't your nursing home, it's a party house. So why don't you just go back to your little condo and let us live? My own son-in-law, screaming at me. In my house. The beach house I built with my bare hands 40 years ago. The house where my wife Eleanor took her last breath on that porch swing, asking me to keep it full of life. And now this punk was telling me to get out. I stood there in the kitchen, spatula still in my hand, bacon grease popping on the stove behind me. The morning sun was pouring through the windows, the same windows I'd installed myself, measuring twice, cutting once, the way my father taught me. Everything went quiet. Even the ocean outside seemed to hold its breath. Have you ever been disrespected by someone you once treated like family? Someone you welcomed into your home, your life, your daughter's heart? Stay with me till the end, because what I did that night made him wish he'd never opened his mouth. Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family. Enjoy the story. Trent stood there in his wrinkled t-shirt and boxer shorts, his eyes bloodshot from last night's drinking, his smirk still plastered on his face like he'd just won something. Behind him, I could see my daughter Clara frozen in the hallway, tears already forming in her eyes, but she didn't say a word. Not one word to defend me. That hurt worse than anything Trent said. I looked at this man, this boy pretending to be a man, and something inside me shifted. Not anger. Not yet. Something colder. Quieter. More dangerous. This is still my property, Trent, I said, my voice steady. You're a guest here. He laughed. Actually laughed. You're old, Gerald. Don't get all territorial. You've had your time here. Maybe it's time to let the next generation enjoy it. We're gonna modernize this place anyway. It's pretty outdated. Modernize. He wanted to tear apart the home Eleanor and I built together. The home where we celebrated every Christmas, every birthday, every anniversary. Where I proposed to her on the deck under a sky full of stars. Where I held her hand as she slipped away from me 5 years ago. I put the spatula down slowly. Turned off the stove. Wiped my hands on the dish towel Eleanor had embroidered with little sailboats. I'll be going then, I said quietly. Trent's smirk widened. He thought he'd won. Yeah, probably for the best, old man. I walked past Clara without looking at her. Couldn't trust myself to see her tears and not break down. Grabbed my keys from the hook by the door, the same hook I'd carved from driftwood 30 years ago. Stepped out onto the porch where Eleanor used to sit every evening, watching the waves. As I reached my truck, I made myself a promise. A quiet, burning promise. Trent was going to regret those words. Not tomorrow. Not next week. That same night. Because what this arrogant fool didn't know was that I wasn't just some retired old man clinging to memories. I was a marine architect who designed ships and docks and coastal structures for 45 years. I knew how to build things. And I knew how to take them apart. More importantly, I knew every single inch of that house. Every beam. Every wire. Every legal document. Every property line. And the deed? Well, that deed had never left my name. He'd just made the biggest mistake of his life, and he had no idea the storm he'd just woken. Let me take you back to understand why that house meant everything to me. Why I couldn't just let it go. Why those words cut deeper than any knife ever could. I met Eleanor Marsh in 1978 at a marina where I was consulting on a dock expansion. She was there sketching the boats, trying to capture the way sunlight danced on the water. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and she had paint smudges on her cheek. When she looked up and caught me staring, she didn't blush or look away. She smiled and said, "You going to stand there all day, or are you going to tell me what's wrong with my perspective?" I married her 6 months later. We spent the first decade of our marriage saving every penny. I worked 60-hour weeks designing commercial vessels. Eleanor taught art at the community college. We lived in a cramped apartment where the neighbors fought through thin walls and the heat barely worked in winter. But every Sunday, we'd drive to the coast, park on the bluff, watch the waves. One day, Eleanor would say, her hand in mine, "We're going to have a house right there, close enough to hear the ocean at night, close enough to taste the salt in the air." She made me promise, made me swear we'd build it together, not by some prefab cookie-cutter place. "It has to be ours, Gerald. Every nail, every board, something we create with our own hands." It took us 15 years to buy the land, another 3 to build the house. I drew up the plans myself, designing it to withstand coastal storms, to maximize the ocean view from every room, to catch the breeze just right in summer. Eleanor chose every paint color, every fixture, every tile. We worked on it every weekend and vacation day we had. My hands bled from hammer blisters. Her shoulders ached from painting. But when we finally moved in, when we sat on that porch for the first time as homeowners, Eleanor cried. Happy tears. The kind that come from seeing a dream become real. "This is where we'll grow old," she whispered. "Where our kids will bring their kids. Where everyone will know they're loved." We had Clara 2 years later. Raised her in that house. Taught her to swim in that ocean. Celebrated every milestone on that porch. The house became more than wood and nails. It became the center of everything we were. Then cancer came. It started small. A cough that wouldn't quit. Then the diagnosis that flipped our world upside down. Stage 4. Inoperable. 6 months if we were lucky. Eleanor lasted 8. Near the end, when she was too weak to walk, I'd carry her out to the porch swing. We'd sit there for hours, watching the waves roll in. She'd rest her head on my shoulder, her body so frail I was afraid I'd break her just by holding her. One evening, a week before she died, she grabbed my hand tight. "Gerald, promise me something." "Anything," I said, my voice cracking. "Don't sell this house. Don't let it sit empty. Keep it full of life, even after I'm gone. Let our family gather here. Let Clara's children run through these rooms. Promise me." I promised. I kept that promise for 5 years. Made sure Clara and whoever she brought home knew the house was always open. Stocked the fridge before every visit. Fixed whatever broke. Maintained it like a shrine to the life Eleanor and I built. But sitting in my truck that morning, driving away from my own home because some punk told me to leave, I wondered if I'd been keeping the wrong promise. Maybe protecting the house meant protecting it from people who didn't understand what it represented. Even if one of those people was married to my daughter. The ocean breeze hit my face through the open window, and I could almost hear Eleanor's voice. "Sometimes, Gerald, the waves have to pull back before they can crash forward." I didn't know what I was going to do yet. But I knew one thing for certain. Trent had just declared war on the wrong man. I should have seen it coming. The signs were there from the beginning. But when your daughter's in love, you don't want to be the one to ruin it. You want to believe you're wrong. You want to give him the benefit of the doubt. That's the mistake I made with Trent Morrison. Clara brought him home 3 years ago for Thanksgiving. She was 32 then, had been through a couple of rough breakups, and I could see she was ready to settle down. Wanted what her mother and I had. When she called to ask if she could bring someone special, I heard the hope in her voice. "Dad, I really think you're going to like him. He's ambitious, confident. He's got big plans." Trent showed up in a BMW he couldn't afford, wearing a suit that looked expensive but fit wrong in all the places a real suit shouldn't. His handshake was too firm, the kind guys use when they're trying to prove something. And he had that smile. That salesman's smile that never quite reached his eyes. "Mr. Whitmore, Clara's told me so much about you. Marine architect, right? That's incredible. I'm in real estate myself. Commercial properties, mostly. Big investors, big deals. I spent 45 years reading people. Had to, in my line of work. Contractors who'd cut corners. Suppliers who'd overcharge. You learn to spot the difference between confidence and con. Trent was a con. But Clara was glowing. Laughing at his jokes. Touching his arm when he talked. She looked at him the way Eleanor used to look at me, and I couldn't bring myself to crush that. So I kept quiet. Over the next year, I watched Trent weave himself into our family. He had this way of dominating every conversation, turning every topic back to himself. At Clara's birthday dinner, he spent 20 minutes telling everyone about a major development deal he was closing. Never happened. At Christmas, he bragged about his connections with city council members. Never saw any evidence of that either. The real red flag came 6 months into their relationship. Clara called me, her voice tight. "Dad, can I borrow $5,000? Just temporarily. Trent's closing a deal next month, and we need to cover some expenses until then." My gut twisted. What kind of expenses? Business stuff. Permits. Fees. He says it's normal. "Clara, let me talk to Trent about." "Dad, please. I don't want you to think he can't handle things. He can. This is just how business works." I sent the money. Never saw it again. Never heard about that deal closing either. They got married a year later. Small ceremony at the courthouse because Trent said they were saving money for investments. No honeymoon because he was working on something big. Clara paid for everything. And me. I smiled and welcomed him into the family. Gave him the benefit of the doubt. Treated him like a son. Big mistake. At family dinners, he started making little comments. "Gerald, maybe you should update this place. It's pretty old-fashioned." Or, "When are you going to retire for real? You're not getting any younger." The comments got bolder. Last Christmas, he actually suggested I should think about putting the beach house in Clara's name. For estate planning purposes, you know. Tax benefits. I shut that down immediately. But I saw the look in his eyes when I said no. Not disappointment. Calculation. He'd been eyeing my property this whole time. Probably had plans for it already. Sell it, split the money, fund whatever fantasy business venture he'd cooked up next. Clara couldn't see it. Or wouldn't. She'd defend him every time I raised a concern. "Dad, you don't understand. He's under a lot of pressure. Things will be better when his business takes off." 3 years of this. 3 years of watching my daughter fade a little more each time one of his promises fell through. 3 years of biting my tongue while he took and gave nothing back. And now this. Inviting his friends to trash my house. Treating it like his personal party spot. Having the nerve to tell me to leave. I'd given him chance after chance. Respected him for Clara's sake. Welcomed him despite every instinct screaming at me not to. But respect only works when it goes both ways. And Trent had just shown me he never had any respect to give. As I drove away from the beach house that morning, I thought about all the times I'd stayed silent. All the times I'd swallowed my pride for my daughter's happiness. I was done being silent. Trent wanted to play games with my property, my house, my memories. Fine. But he was playing against someone who'd spent a lifetime outthinking problems that would have drowned most men. He thought I was just a tired old man who'd roll over and disappear. He had no idea who he was dealing with. and he was about to find out. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon in early June. I was sitting on my condo balcony, reading the paper, when my phone buzzed. "Dad, it's me." Clara's voice sounded light. Happy, even. I hadn't heard her sound like that in months. "Hey, sweetheart. Everything okay?" "Everything's great. Listen, I wanted to ask you something. Trent and I were thinking about spending this weekend at the beach house. Just us and maybe a few friends. Nothing big. We thought it'd be nice to have a little family time, you know?" Family time. Those words landed soft in my chest. Maybe I'd been too hard on Trent. Maybe he was trying. Maybe this was his way of extending an olive branch. "Of course," I said. "I'll head down Friday morning, stock the fridge, get everything ready." "Oh, Dad, you don't have to do that. We can handle it." "I want to. Besides, I haven't been down there in a few weeks. Be good to check on things." There was a pause. A small one. But I caught it. "Okay. That sounds great. See you Friday." "See you Friday, sweetheart." I hung up feeling something I hadn't felt in a while. Hope. Maybe this weekend would be a turning point. Maybe Trent would show me a different side. Maybe we'd sit on that porch, share a beer, and I'd finally see what Clara saw in him. I spent Wednesday and Thursday planning. Hit the grocery store and picked up Clara's favorites. Fresh salmon, those rosemary crackers she loves, the good cheese from the deli counter. Grabbed some steaks for the grill, thinking maybe Trent and I could cook together. Man-to-man time. Thursday night, I could barely sleep. Felt like a kid before Christmas. I kept thinking about Eleanor, how she'd have loved seeing the family together at the house again. How she'd have made her famous potato salad and set the table with the good plates. "I'm keeping your promise, Ellie," I whispered to the darkness. "Keeping it full of life." Friday morning, I loaded up the truck before sunrise. Had the groceries packed in coolers, fresh linens for the beds, even stopped to pick up flowers for the table. The drive to the coast usually takes 90 minutes, but I made it in 75. Couldn't help myself. The ocean air hit me the moment I opened the truck door. Salt and sunshine and something else, something that smelled like home. The house looked beautiful in the morning light, exactly how Eleanor and I designed it to look. White siding, blue shutters, the porch swing swaying slightly in the breeze. But something was off. There were cars in the driveway. Not Clara's sedan. Not Trent's BMW. 3 other vehicles I didn't recognize. And I could hear music. Loud music. The kind that rattles windows. I checked my watch. 10:30 in the morning. My stomach tightened. I grabbed a bag of groceries and walked up the front steps. The door was unlocked. Wide open, actually. Music blasted from inside, some bass-heavy song I didn't recognize. I could hear laughter. Shouting. The clink of bottles. I stepped inside. My living room looked like a frat house. Beer cans on every surface. Empty bottles on the floor. The couch cushions were off, tossed in a corner. Someone had spilled something red on Eleanor's white rug, the one she'd spent 3 months saving up for, the one she'd picked out because it reminded her of clouds. There were people everywhere. Young men I'd never seen before. One was passed out on the recliner. 2 more were in the kitchen, laughing about something. A couple was making out on the stairs. In my house. In Eleanor's house. And there, standing in the middle of it, all like some kind of king, was Trent. Beer in hand, sunglasses on even though we were indoors, grinning at his friends like he'd just won the lottery. He saw me, and his grin got wider. "Oh, hey, Gerald. Didn't think you'd make it down this weekend." I stood there, groceries still in my arms, trying to process what I was seeing. This wasn't a family weekend. This wasn't a few friends. This was a full-blown party. "This is my house, Trent," I said, my voice tight. "Why wouldn't I?" He shrugged and turned back to his buddies. "Guys, this is my father-in-law, the owner of the place. He just drops by sometimes." The way he said it, owner of the place, made it sound like I was some landlord checking in on renters. Like I didn't belong here. Like this wasn't the home I'd built with my own hands. I set the groceries down on the counter. Looked around for Clara. Found her on the back deck, arms crossed, staring at the ocean. She looked small, uncomfortable. "Clara." She turned, and I saw her eyes were red. "Dad." "I didn't know they were coming. Trent said it was just going to be us." "Then why are they here?" "He invited them last night. Said it would be fun." "I couldn't. I didn't know how to." She couldn't finish. Didn't have to. I saw it all in her face. She was trapped. Again. Always saying yes to him because saying no meant a fight she didn't have the energy for. I wanted to tell her to pack her bags. To leave him. To come home with me right then and there. But I didn't. Because that's not how it works with people you love. They have to see it for themselves. "It's okay," I said quietly. "We'll figure it out." But it wasn't okay. And as I stood there on that deck, watching strangers trash the home Eleanor and I built together, something inside me started to harden. This wasn't family time. This was a takeover. And Trent was just getting started. I spent Friday night invisible in my own home. Sat on the porch while Trent and his friends partied like they owned the place. The music got louder as the sun went down. Voices got sloppier. More beer cans piled up in the kitchen. Someone knocked over a lamp in the living room, heard the crash, heard them laugh it off. Nobody apologized. Nobody even noticed. Around midnight, Trent stumbled out onto the porch. Probably didn't expect to see me sitting there in the dark. "Oh, hey, Gerald. You still up? Hard to sleep with all the noise." He laughed. "Thought I was joking." "Yeah, it's a good party. You should join us. Loosen up a little." This was supposed to be a family weekend. It is family. These guys are like my brothers, man. We do business together. Well, we're gonna. Big things coming. Same line he'd been feeding Clara for 3 years. Big things always coming. Never arriving. "Trent, it's late. Maybe you could ask them to keep it down." He took a long sip of his beer. Looked at me like I just asked him to solve world hunger. "It's a beach house, Gerald. People party at beach houses. That's what they're for. That's not what this house is for." Maybe that's the problem. He leaned against the railing, cocky even in his drunk state. "You're stuck in the past, man. This place could be making money. Could be an Airbnb or something. But you're just letting it sit here because of memories." Memories. He said it like it was a dirty word. "Those memories are worth more than any money you'll ever make." He laughed again. Slapped the railing. "See? That's exactly what I'm talking about. That old-school thinking. No offense, but your generation doesn't get it. Everything's an investment now. Everything's about maximizing value." I didn't respond. Wasn't worth it. He was drunk and stupid, and arguing with drunk stupid people never ends well. He eventually stumbled back inside. Left me alone with the sound of waves and too loud music bleeding through the walls. I didn't sleep that night. Just sat there, watching the ocean, thinking about Eleanor. Wondering what she'd say if she could see this. Wondering if keeping my promise to her meant tolerating this kind of disrespect. Around 2 in the morning, someone threw up in the downstairs bathroom. I heard them laughing about it. Nobody cleaned it up. Saturday morning came cold and gray. I got up at 6, like always. Made coffee in the kitchen while stepping around beer bottles and red plastic cups. Started making breakfast because it's what I always do. What Eleanor and I always did together. Bacon was sizzling in the pan when Trent wandered in. He looked rough. Bloodshot eyes. Greasy hair. But that smirk was still there, like even hungover he was winning some game I didn't know we were playing. "Morning, Gerald." I just nodded. Flipped the bacon. He opened the fridge, grabbed a sports drink, chugged half of it. Then he said the words that changed everything. "Hey, next time, let me know before you start using our kitchen." We had plans for brunch. I stopped. Put down the spatula. Turned to face him. "Our kitchen." "Yeah, Clara and I were talking. We're gonna start using the beach house more often. You know, make it a place for our friends. It's kind of outdated anyway. Maybe we'll do some renovations. Modernize it a bit. Make it actually worth something." Every word was a slap. Our kitchen. Outdated. Modernize. Like everything Eleanor and I built meant nothing. Like our life together was just old junk that needed replacing. "This house isn't yours to change." He laughed. That same dismissive laugh he'd been using all weekend. "Come on, Gerald. Don't get all territorial. You're old. You've had your time here. Maybe it's time to let the next generation enjoy it. Let us make it into something special." Something special. It was already special. Already perfect. Already everything it needed to be. "Trent, this is still my property. You're a guest." His face changed. The smirk disappeared. Something uglier took its place. "Then maybe you should leave, Gerald. You're killing the vibe. This isn't your nursing home, it's a party house. So why don't you just go back to your little condo and let us live?" The words hung in the air between us. Down the hall, I could hear his friends starting to stir. Could hear Clara's footsteps upstairs. Could hear the ocean outside, still rolling in like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. I looked at Trent standing there in his wrinkled clothes and his hangover and his arrogance, and I finally saw him clearly. Saw what Clara couldn't see. What I'd been too polite to acknowledge. He wasn't just disrespectful. He was dangerous. The kind of person who takes and takes until there's nothing left. The kind who'd drain Clara dry and move on to the next target without a second thought. And he'd just made his biggest mistake. He'd shown his hand too early. Let me see exactly who he was before he'd secured what he wanted. I turned off the stove. Wiped my hands. Looked him dead in the eye. "I'll be going then." I walked past Clara in the hallway. She was crying silently, hands over her mouth. Wanted to say something but didn't know what. I couldn't look at her. Couldn't let her see how much this hurt. Got in my truck. Started the engine. Drove exactly 3 miles down the coast road to a little coffee shop with a view of the water. And then I made 2 phone calls that would end Trent's party permanently. The coffee was cold by the time I finished the first call, but I didn't care. My hands were steady. My mind was clearer than it had been in years. "Robert." "It's Gerald Whitmore." Robert Chen had been my attorney for 30 years. Handled everything from my business contracts to Eleanor's estate. Good man. Sharp mind. Didn't waste time on small talk. "Gerald. Good to hear from you. What can I do?" "I need you to send me a digital copy of the property deed for the beach house. The original. And I need it in the next hour." There was a pause. "Everything okay?" "It will be. Give me 45 minutes." He didn't ask questions. That's why I liked him. 30 years of working together meant he knew when I was serious and when I needed him to just do the job. I hung up and stared at the ocean through the coffee shop window. Watched a family walking on the beach. Father, mother, 2 kids. The little girl was chasing seagulls. The boy was collecting shells. Normal. Happy. The way families should be. The way mine used to be. My phone buzzed. Robert's email. PDF attached. I opened it, and there it was. Black and white proof. Property deed in the name of Gerald James Whitmore. Sole owner. No co-signers. No shared titles. No claims from anyone else. My house. My rules. I made the second call. Sheriff's Office, Deputy Martinez speaking. Yes, hello. My name is Gerald Whitmore. I own a property at 847 Seaside Lane. I'm calling to report a disturbance and potential trespassing. Can you describe the situation, sir? I kept my voice calm. Factual. No emotion. Just the truth. I own the property outright. My son-in-law asked to use it for a family weekend. I agreed. When I arrived yesterday, I found an unauthorized party with multiple unregistered guests. I've asked them to keep the noise down. They refused. This morning, my son-in-law verbally ordered me to leave my own property and stated his intention to take over the residence. Is he on the deed? No. I have documentation proving sole ownership. I can provide it immediately. And he's currently at the property? Yes. With approximately 7 or 8 other individuals. There's been excessive noise, property damage, and alcohol consumption. I believe several guests may be staying overnight without my permission. Deputy Martinez's tone shifted, became more professional. Sir, are you in a safe location right now? Yes. I'm a few miles away. Stay there. We'll send someone to assess the situation. Can you meet us at the property in about an hour? I'll be there. I hung up and sat back in the booth. Felt something loosen in my chest. Not relief yet, but something close. A sense of control returning. Trent thought he'd won. Thought he'd successfully pushed the old man out. Probably already celebrating with his buddies, planning how they'd take over the beach house for the whole summer. Maybe he'd already told Clara they were moving in permanently. He had no idea what was about to hit him. I finished my coffee. Left a good tip for the waitress who'd let me sit there for 2 hours. Got back in my truck and drove slowly back toward the house. Parked about 100 yards down the road where I could see the driveway, but they couldn't see me. The party was still going. I could hear the music from where I sat. Could see people moving around inside through the windows. Someone was on the deck with a beer, laughing into their phone. My phone buzzed. Text from Deputy Martinez. 15 minutes out. I typed back. Ready when you are. 15 minutes. That's all it would take to flip Trent's world upside down. 15 minutes to show him what happens when you disrespect a man who built his entire life on precision, planning, and follow-through. I thought about Eleanor. About what she'd think of what I was about to do. Part of me wondered if she'd tell me to let it go. To be the bigger person. To forgive. But another part of me knew exactly what she'd say. The part that remembered how fierce she was when someone crossed a line. How she'd stood up to a contractor who tried to scam us during the house build. How she'd confronted a teacher who'd unfairly failed Clara in 5th grade. Eleanor was kind, but she wasn't weak. She believed in standing up for what was right. And this was right. The sun was climbing higher now. Getting hot. The kind of perfect beach day that makes you forget winter ever existed. The kind of day Eleanor and I used to spend on that porch, watching the world go by, grateful for every moment. Trent had stolen that from me. Turned my sanctuary into his playground. Disrespected everything my wife and I built together. I saw the sheriff's car before I heard it. 2 vehicles, actually. Both rolling slowly down Seaside Lane. No sirens. No lights yet. Just quiet authority. They pulled into my driveway right behind the BMW and the other cars. 2 deputies got out. One was Martinez. Young guy, maybe 30. The other was older, probably close to retirement. They surveyed the scene for a moment, then walked toward the front door. I got out of my truck and followed. This was it. The moment Trent's arrogance caught up with him. The moment he learned you don't tell a man to leave his own house. The moment everything changed. The music stopped the second the deputies knocked. I stayed back on the driveway, watching. Could see movement through the windows. People scrambling. Bottles being hidden. The sudden panic of folks who know they've been caught doing something they shouldn't. Trent opened the door, and even from where I stood, I could see him trying to put on that salesman charm. Big smile. Casual posture. Like he owned the place. Officers. Is there a problem? Deputy Martinez didn't smile back. Are you the property owner? Well, it's my father-in-law's place, but we have permission to be here. It's a family thing. Your name? Trent Morrison. And the owner's name? Gerald Whitmore. Martinez looked past Trent into the house. I could see his eyes taking inventory. The beer cans. The mess. The strangers. How many people are currently in the residence? Trent shifted his weight. Just some friends. Maybe 8 or 9. We're not bothering anyone. We received a noise complaint and a report of unauthorized occupancy. That's crazy. Like I said, we have permission. That's when I stepped forward. Both deputies had seen me approach, but Trent's back was to the driveway. He didn't know I was there until I spoke. Actually, Trent, you don't. He spun around. His face went white. Gerald, what are you? I'm the property owner, I said, walking up to stand beside the deputies. Gerald Whitmore. This is my house. Martinez pulled out a notepad. Sir, can you confirm this is your property? I handed him my phone with the deed pulled up. He studied it for a moment, then showed it to his partner. They both nodded. Mr. Whitmore, did you give permission for this gathering? I gave permission for my daughter and son-in-law to spend a quiet family weekend here. I did not give permission for a party. I did not give permission for these other individuals to stay overnight. And this morning, Mr. Morrison verbally ordered me to leave the premises and stated his intention to make significant changes to the property without my authorization. Trent's face went from white to red. That's not, I didn't mean it like that. I was just. Did you tell Mr. Whitmore to leave? Martinez asked. Trent looked around like he was searching for an exit. I mean, we were having a disagreement, but... Yes or no? It was a misunderstanding. Yes or no, Mr. Morrison? Trent's jaw clenched. Yeah, I told him to leave. But it wasn't. And is your name on this property deed? Silence. Mr. Morrison? No. Then I'm going to need you and your guests to vacate the property immediately. What? You can't be serious. Clara, get out here. My daughter appeared in the doorway. Her eyes were swollen from crying. She looked at me, then at Trent, then at the deputies. She looked lost. Ma'am, are you Clara Whitmore Morrison? The older deputy asked. Yes. Are you an owner of this property? She shook her head. No. It's my dad's. Did your father give you permission to have this gathering? She looked at me. I saw the question in her eyes. Saw her wanting me to save her. Save him. Make this all go away. But I couldn't. Not this time. He gave us permission to visit, she said quietly. Not for a party. Trent grabbed her arm. Clara, what are you doing? Tell them. Don't touch her, I said. My voice was low but hard. The voice I used when I was giving orders on ship designs that couldn't afford mistakes. Trent let go like he'd touched fire. Martinez stepped between them. Mr. Morrison, you and your guests need to leave now. If you refuse, we'll charge you with trespassing. This is insane. Gerald, come on. You're really going to do this? Over what? Some noise? Some friends having fun? I looked at him. Really looked at him. Saw everything he was. Everything he'd always been. You told me to leave my own house, Trent. You disrespected my property. My wife's memory. My daughter. You thought I was just some old man you could push around. I didn't mean. Yes, you did. You meant every word. You've been eyeing this place since the day you met Clara. Calculating. Planning. Waiting for me to die or give up so you could cash in. His face confirmed everything. The flash of anger. The defensive stance. The way his eyes darted to Clara like he was already planning his excuse. Clara, baby, he's crazy. You know I love you. I love this place. I was just trying to. Trying to what? I interrupted. Make it a party house? Modernize it. Turn it into an investment property. Those were your words this morning. Clara's face crumbled. Trent, you said that? I was joking around. I didn't. Get out, she whispered. What? Get out. Her voice grew stronger. Get out of my father's house. Take your friends and leave. Clara. Now, Trent. For a moment, nobody moved. The ocean breeze was the only sound. Then Trent turned and stormed back inside. Started yelling at his friends to pack up. Lots of cursing. Lots of blame being thrown around. It took 20 minutes to clear them all out. One by one, they filed past us. Some looked embarrassed. Some looked angry. Trent was the last to leave, and he stopped in front of me. You'll regret this, old man. I smiled. Actually smiled. No, Trent. You will. He drove off in his BMW, friends following in their cars. Gravel spraying. Tires screeching. The tantrum of a man who'd finally lost. When the last car disappeared down the road, Martinez turned to me. Mr. Whitmore, I need to let you know that we'll be filing a disturbance report. There's also evidence of property damage. You have the right to press charges if you choose. I'll think about it. He handed me his card. Call me if you need anything else. They left. And then it was just Clara and me, standing in the driveway of the house her mother and I built. She started crying. Full sobs. The kind that shake your whole body. I held her while she cried. Held my little girl the way I did when she was 6 and fell off her bike. When she was 12 and got her first heartbreak. When she was 22 and Eleanor died. I'm sorry, Dad, she kept saying. I'm so sorry. I know, sweetheart. I know. We stood there until the sun started to set. Until her tears dried up. Until she was ready to go inside and start cleaning up the mess Trent left behind. But we both knew the biggest mess wasn't in the house. It was in her life. And that was going to take a lot longer to clean up. The next 3 months were hard. Clara moved out of the apartment she shared with Trent the day after the party. Showed up at my condo with 2 suitcases and red eyes. Didn't say much. Just collapsed on my couch and slept for 14 hours straight. When she woke up, we talked. Really talked. For the first time in 3 years. I knew, she said, staring at her coffee mug. Deep down, I knew he was using me. Using you. Using everyone. But I kept thinking if I just loved him enough, he'd change. He'd become the man he pretended to be. That's not how it works, sweetheart. I know that now. She told me everything. About the money she'd lent him that was never paid back. About the credit cards he'd maxed out in her name. About the business deals that were just schemes to impress his friends. About the times he'd made her feel small, stupid, worthless. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. Because you warned me. From the beginning. And I didn't listen. I was too embarrassed to admit you were right. I didn't want to be right, Clara. I wanted to be wrong. I wanted him to be good for you. She cried again. But different this time. Not the panicked sobs from the driveway. Slower tears. Healing tears. I'm filing for divorce, she said. Good. She moved into the beach house 2 weeks later. Said she needed time away from everything. Time to figure out who she was without Trent's voice in her head. I helped her move in, and together we cleaned every inch of that place. Scrubbed the stains from the rugs. Repainted the walls. Fixed the lamp someone had broken. Made it feel like home again. Trent tried calling her. Texting. Showing up at her work. But Clara was done. She blocked his number. Got a restraining order when he wouldn't stop. Hired a lawyer who made sure the divorce went through fast and clean. And that's when we discovered the truth about Trent's finances. Turns out, those big deals he was always talking about? Lies. All of them. He hadn't worked a real job in over a year. Had been living off Clara's salary and whatever money he could borrow from friends. The BMW. Leased and 3 months behind on payments. The fancy suits. Credit card debt he'd never pay off. He was broke. Completely broke. And he'd been counting on getting access to the beach house to solve all his problems. Had planned to convince Clara to get me to sign it over. Then sell it and pocket the money. My attorney found evidence of the whole scheme in emails during the divorce discovery. Trent had been talking to a real estate investor about listing the property. Had promised a commission. Had calculated his cut down to the penny. He'd never loved Clara. He'd loved what he thought she could give him. And when I stood in the way, he tried to eliminate me from the equation. The community board fined him $3,000 for the unauthorized party. Deputy Martinez's report documented property damage, noise violations, and public intoxication. Trent couldn't pay it. His credit was destroyed. His reputation in the small coastal community was finished. Last I heard, he'd moved 3 states away. Working some dead-end sales job. Living in a studio apartment. All those big dreams reduced to nothing. Clara, on the other hand, started healing. She took a leave from work. Spent her days walking the beach. Reading on the porch. Painting again, like she used to when she was younger. She'd set up an easel on the deck and work until sunset, trying to capture the light the way her mother used to. One evening, about 2 months after Trent left, she came and sat next to me on the porch swing. Dad. Yeah, sweetheart. Thank you. For that day. For standing up when I couldn't. You don't have to thank me. Yes, I do. You saved me. I didn't see it then, but you saved me from making the biggest mistake of my life. If you'd let him keep going, if you'd stayed quiet like you always did, I'd still be there. Still believing his lies. Still losing myself. I put my arm around her. You would have figured it out, eventually. Maybe. But maybe not until it was too late. Until he'd taken everything. The house. My savings. my self-respect. She leaned her head on my shoulder. I'm sorry I didn't defend you that day. I should have stood up for you. You were scared. I understand. I was. But that's not an excuse. You built this house for Mom. You've protected it for her. And I let him trash it. I let him disrespect everything you both created. The house is fine. You're fine. That's all that matters. We sat there as the sun dropped below the horizon. Watched the sky turn orange and pink and purple. The same colors Eleanor used to paint. The same view she'd loved more than anything. She'd be proud of you, I said. I hope so. I know so. Clara stayed at the beach house for 3 more months. Used that time to rebuild herself. By the time she moved out, she wasn't the same broken woman who'd shown up with 2 suitcases. She was stronger, clearer, more herself than she'd been in years. She got a promotion at work. Started dating again, but slowly this time. Carefully. And she visited the beach house regularly, but never stayed too long. Said she wanted to respect what the place meant. Wanted to honor it properly. It's your sanctuary, Dad. Not mine. Not yet. Maybe one day when you're ready to pass it down. But not now. Now it's yours and Mom's. I appreciated that more than she knew. A year after that weekend, I was sitting on the porch when I got a call from Robert. Gerald, you sitting down? I'm 72, Robert. I'm always sitting down. What's up? Trent filed for bankruptcy. Just came across my desk. Thought you'd want to know. He list any assets? Nothing. The man's got 0. Less than 0, actually. He's about $60,000 in debt between credit cards, the lease default, and the community fine he never paid. I didn't feel satisfaction hearing that. Didn't feel vindication. Just felt tired. Tired of the whole situation. Tired of thinking about Trent at all. Thanks for letting me know. There's one more thing. He tried to file a civil suit against you. Claimed emotional distress. Said you publicly humiliated him and destroyed his relationship. He did that himself. That's what the judge said. Threw it out immediately. Told Trent to stop wasting the court's time. After I hung up, I thought about that morning in the kitchen. The moment Trent told me to leave. How angry I'd been. How hurt. And I realized I didn't feel any of that anymore. Didn't feel anger. Didn't feel hurt. Just felt grateful. Grateful I'd stood up. Grateful I'd protected what mattered. Grateful I'd helped Clara escape before it was too late. That's when I decided to make a change. I put the beach house up for rent. Not permanently. Just short-term rentals to families who needed a place to heal, to reconnect, to remember what peace felt like. I vetted every application personally. Made sure they understood the rules. Made sure they'd respect the place. The first family was a couple in their 40s with 2 kids. The husband had just finished cancer treatment. They needed somewhere quiet to recover. Somewhere to feel normal again. They sent me a thank you card after their stay. Said the house gave them something they'd forgotten existed. Hope. The second family was a widow with 3 grown children. First vacation since her husband died. They scattered his ashes in the ocean from my beach. She called me crying to say thank you. Said she felt him there. Said the house gave her permission to start living again. After that, I knew I'd made the right choice. The house wasn't meant to sit empty. Eleanor was right about that. It was meant to be full of life. But not the kind of life Trent brought. Not chaos and disrespect and selfishness. Real life. Real family. Real love. Over the next year, I rented it out a dozen times. Each family left it better than they found it. Each family understood what the place represented. Each family sent photos and letters and gratitude. And slowly, the house stopped being a painful reminder of what I'd lost. Started being a celebration of what Eleanor and I had built together. Clara met someone new. A teacher named Marcus who worked at her school. Quiet guy. Kind. The type who listened more than he talked. She brought him to meet me at the beach house 6 months into dating. Dad, this is Marcus. He shook my hand. Firm but not aggressive. Mr. Whitmore, Clara's told me a lot about you. And about this place. It's beautiful. Thank you. Took me and my wife 3 years to build it. She said you did it yourselves. That's incredible. We spent the afternoon talking. He asked questions about the design, the materials, the challenges we faced. Actually seemed interested in the answers. Didn't try to impress me with big plans or schemes. Just seemed genuinely curious. At sunset, Clara pulled me aside. What do you think? I think he's nothing like Trent. She laughed. That's the nicest thing you could say. I think you're happy. That's all that matters. I am, Dad. For the first time in years, I really am. They got engaged 8 months later. Small ceremony at the beach house. Just family. Marcus's parents, Clara's friends, and me. They said their vows on the deck, overlooking the ocean. And I swear I felt Eleanor there. Felt her approval. Felt her peace. After the ceremony, Marcus found me on the porch. Mr. Whitmore, I want you to know something. I understand what this place means. What it represents. I promise I'll never take it for granted. Never disrespect it. And if Clara and I are ever lucky enough to have kids, I'll teach them to respect it too. I shook his hand. That's all I've ever wanted. Life moved forward the way it's supposed to. Clara and Marcus built a good life together. They visit the beach house a few times a year, but they always ask first. Always treat it like the gift it is. I still rent it out to families who need it. Still vet every application. Still make sure everyone understands the rules. And sometimes, late at night, I drive down and sit on that porch by myself. Listen to the waves. Watch the stars. Talk to Eleanor like she's still sitting next to me. I kept my promise, Ellie. Kept it full of life. Just took me a while to figure out what that really meant. The wind picks up, and I imagine it's her voice saying she's proud of me. Proud of Clara. Proud of the life we're still building, even though she's not here to see it. I'm 73 now. Getting older. Moving slower. But I'm still here. Still watching over the house Eleanor and I built together. People ask me if I regret what I did that day. If I wish I'd handled things differently with Trent. If I feel bad about how it all went down. The answer is no. Not because I'm cruel. Not because I wanted to hurt anyone. But because sometimes love means drawing a line. Sometimes protection means saying no. Sometimes respect has to be demanded, not given freely to people who don't deserve it. Trent taught me that. Taught me that silence isn't always strength. That patience isn't always virtue. That sometimes the kindest thing you can do is show someone exactly where they stand. He wanted to take something that wasn't his. Wanted to erase the memory of someone he never knew. Wanted to turn love into profit. And I stopped him. Calmly. Legally. Completely. Was it revenge? Maybe. But it was also justice. Also protection. Also love for my daughter and my late wife and the life we built together. The beach house still stands. White siding, blue shutters, porch swing swaying in the breeze. Eleanor's flowers blooming in the garden. The ocean rolling in steady and sure. I sit here most evenings now. Watch the sunset. Listen to the waves. Remember. Remember building this place board by board. Remember Eleanor's laugh echoing through these rooms. Remember Clara learning to swim in that ocean. Remember every birthday, every holiday, every ordinary moment that made life extraordinary. And I remember that weekend. Remember Trent's voice telling me to leave. Remember the choice I made. Remember standing up when everything in me wanted to walk away. Some people might say I was petty, that I should have been the bigger person, that I should have forgiven and forgotten. But those people didn't build this house with their bare hands, didn't make a promise to a dying woman, didn't watch their daughter slowly lose herself to a man who only pretended to love her. Those people don't understand that some lines can't be crossed. Some promises can't be broken. Some places are sacred. This house is sacred, not because it's fancy or valuable, but because it represents everything Eleanor and I believed in. Love, family, hard work, respect. And when someone threatened that, when someone tried to take it away, I fought back, not with fists or shouting, but with patience and planning and precision. The same way I built the house in the first place. Trent wanted me gone, wanted to push me aside like I was just an obstacle in his way, wanted to erase 45 years of marriage and love and sacrifice. He failed, completely and utterly failed. And me, I'm still here, still watching over what matters, still keeping my promise. The waves keep coming, just like truth, rolling in steady and sure, no matter what stands in their way. That's what Eleanor used to say. The ocean doesn't fight, doesn't argue, just keeps coming, keeps wearing down everything that tries to stop it. That's what I did to Trent. Didn't fight him, didn't argue, just kept coming, kept standing firm, kept protecting what was mine. And in the end, the truth washed him away like sand. I look out at the water now, watching the sun sink low. The sky's turning that perfect shade of orange Eleanor loved so much. The shade that means day is ending but something beautiful is happening anyway. That's life, I suppose. Things end. People leave. Hearts break. But if you build something strong enough, if you love something fiercely enough, if you protect something faithfully enough, it survives. It endures. It stands. This house has survived storms and time and Trent Morrison. It'll survive whatever comes next too. Because some things are worth fighting for. Worth standing up for. Worth refusing to abandon no matter who tells you to leave. My name is Gerald Whitmore. I'm 73 years old. And this is my house. Mine and Eleanor's. Nobody's taking that away. Not now. Not ever. The man who told me to leave my own house learned that lesson the hard way. Learned that you don't mistake a man's silence for weakness. Don't mistake his patience for permission. Don't mistake his kindness for stupidity. Because some of us just know that revenge, like the tide, always comes back. Calm, steady, and unstoppable. I finish my coffee and set the mug down on the table Eleanor picked out 30 years ago. Stand up slowly, my knees creaking the way they do now. Walk to the porch railing and look out at the ocean one more time. The waves keep coming, just like they always have, just like they always will. And so do I. If you believe respect and peace should never be mistaken for weakness, if you believe some places and promises are worth protecting no matter what, then I hope this story resonated with you. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who's struggling to stand up for what matters. Someone who thinks silence means giving up. It doesn't. Sometimes silence just means you're planning your next move. Subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so you never miss another story about real people facing real challenges and finding their way through. We all have moments where we have to decide who we are and what we stand for. Share your thoughts in the comments. Tell us about a time you had to draw a line, had to stand up, had to protect something that mattered. Your story might inspire someone else to find their strength. Until next time, remember this: the ocean doesn't fight the shore. It just keeps coming. And eventually, the shore learns to respect it. Retriclod can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.